that's one of those skills that I see is like really just the hierarchical file structure of Linux. Like file systems aren't understood anymore. It's like, oh, I just search a thing and that's how I get to this thing.
How do I get somebody to a point where they can do a practical thing? You know, like how do I help them solve a problem and teach them a thing that is directly applicable? If you can help people practically solve a problem and then grow out from there like concentric circles, I think that's a really good approach. Years ago, my oldest, who's now a software developer, there was a bring your kid to work day. I worked from home at the time. And so I brought him to work with me. But what I did is I bought a Raspberry Pi, sat him up in the room with me, sent him a link to a document, gave him all the pieces, basically told him to spend the day to build himself his own video game system, right? So he took his Raspberry Pi, he loaded the RetroPie OS on it, he downloaded his mods, he deployed them on his Raspberry Pi, and at the end of the day, he had a working video game system. And he's a software developer today, you know, and interestingly enough, William, he and I were talking the other day, and he was ranting about the fact that people don't know how to use hierarchical file systems anymore. I've been a success, just so you know.
I love that.
And then I took the contrarian position. I was like, well, do they really need them, though? Does your average user really need to know how to use a hierarchical file system? You can always go back further, and there's always more to learn. But if you can solve a problem today, then you can build on that and be productive and then continue to grow.
Next one, I think SSH keys. Please learn to understand those and file permissions, because that is a nightmare for everybody. I would honestly say 90% of the tickets I get on my courses are related to the SSH keys that we use. I would say that actually might be a little low. That's probably most of the problems I get is SSH keys. And then manipulating the path. Like, honestly, can we not fix this somehow? It is just, you know, installing a new binary in Linux is still way too hard for a lot of people. Even for me, I get tripped up sometimes, especially dealing with like Python environments and stuff like that. But manipulating the path and permissions on that, permissions on executables, making sure you can run something, that honestly is where I would start, is understanding the file system, like you said, and how to get these binaries where they need to go.